Welcome to the It's Not That Hard to Homeschool podcast, where homeschooling is made easy and enjoyable. Hey there, homeschool heroes. I'm Lisa Nearing, your host and fellow homeschooling adventurer. I'm thrilled to share tips and stories that will help you confidently, competently, and even contentedly navigate homeschooling. So let's jump in and make this journey a whole lot of fun. Well, hello, everybody. Today I have a special guest with us today. Brooke, for those of our listeners who are not familiar with you or the Homeschool Resource Co., introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your amazing company.
Yeah, so I'm Brooke. I'm just south of Baton Rouge. I tell a lot of people, if you watch TV and you see swamp people, we actually know some of the people that are on there. Literally, we're raised with some of them. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing to say, but I am that far south. That's how I like to describe it. Other than that, I am a pastor's wife. We've been in ministry since before we got married. I have 5 kids that I have homeschooled. My oldest will be turning 12 in just a couple of weeks, and my youngest is 2. I started out as a blogger over at the Fervent Mama and then began to share my love for homeschooling and the resources that I was creating. And that brought me to the creator space where homeschoolers were coming in and they were bringing their resources for homeschool families. And I loved it so much that I said, hey, how can we collaborate and really create something awesome? And that's where Homeschool Resource Co. came about. We're mainly known for our bundles that we do, where we bundle a bunch of resources together and we give it at a really low price. But we also like to just encourage homeschool families and give them tips and tricks and tools and resources that they can have a healthy and a confident and a thriving homeschool.
Awesome. I love it. A lot of people think I'm going to just homeschool, and then they get into it and they're like, whoa, this is a job.
It is. It is.
And it's an adventure too. I love that a lot of what you do is focus on supplemental resources. I like to call myself a classical unschooler. I read all of John Holt's books and John Taylor Gatto's and Grace Llewellyn. Love the unschooling methodology, but also we're pretty academic, so we bring in a lot of classical. But in that, really, I think a lot of the newer homeschoolers forget that homeschooling can be so fun and rich.
Right.
And you don't have to be so drowned in academics that you don't live anymore. And so that's where I love what you are doing. That's where that comes in. So tell us about what exactly are supplemental resources? What does that mean? And what are some of the most effective ones that you found?
Yeah, so a lot of people think supplemental resources are the things that you get off of Pinterest or your downloads and your printables, which those are included. But supplemental resources start with anything extra. Other than your curriculum, if it is a manipulative, if it is a field trip, if it is a documentary, a book, anything like that, anything that you add to your curriculum is a supplemental resource. We really believe that that's what makes your homeschool a homeschool, is all of those supplementals that you add in, the fun things that you do, the adventures you take them through books and through resources and through all of those things. So it really just depends on your learning style and your teaching style and your type of homeschool to determine what resources are going to be best for you. I really think, like, if you take Charlotte Mason, obviously living books is going to be a huge thing. Someone like unschooling, they like life skills and things that they can immerse themselves in. It really just depends on where you are in your homeschool journey for that. Typically, we focus a lot on the resources that we can give you because we can share with you books and we can share with you field trip ideas and we can do those things, but none of those are tangible items that we can give you and say, hey, add this in there and this is fun. We provide the actual resources, the printables, the workbooks, the courses, the classes, all of those things that you can easily add to your curriculum, or you can say, hey, I want to take a break. We are overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Or if it just seems like you're doing the same thing all the time, or if you find an interest or a skill that your child has and you really want to hone in on that, that's where your supplemental resources come in handy. So for me to say, what exactly is a good supplemental resource for a specific family? I would have to know that family.
Yeah.
But anything that you add extra to your homeschool, like I said, anywhere from documentaries to podcast or those extra physical resources, those are what your supplementals are going to be.
I love that. That is such a broad way of understanding education. One of the things we used to always do, because we live in the far north, so winter hits hard here, and January through February, when the Christmas tree lights are down and there's no holiday to look forward to and you're in the dead of winter, we used to always put some money back for a new game or
Mhm.
something supplemental that would like a save your sanity kind of thing.
Right.
And I think it's just so important because it can just really get you through.
Yeah,
And
and you
sometimes, yeah,
mentioned a good one. Games.
yeah,
Games are supplemental resources. Those are things that you can add that are still learning. They're still
yes,
educational. They're still family centered.
yeah,
I mean, a supplemental resource has, like you said, such a broad meaning that you hate to just kind of put it in a category of, but
yeah,
it's a category of its own, and
yeah.
it can be added or taken away from or pulled back. Like it's not structured, and that's
Mhm.
what's so fun about adding that to your homeschool.
How do you suggest parents find good supplemental resources for their family and their kids? What's a good way to start?
When I'm looking at them for, I'll use my own family for example, I always start with what does our curriculum look like? What are we honing in on this year? We're an eclectic family, but we lean towards Charlotte Mason tendencies where we do a lot of narration or family style schooling.
Yeah,
So I like things that we can all do together and then we have those discussions afterwards. We've been doing something from master books, going through the history of the United States.
fun.
And for vacation this year, we're actually going to Pittsburgh and
Oh,
Philadelphia and Baltimore. So we're hitting all those big things and it's fun. We've
yeah.
been able to hone in on those things and say,
Mhm,
okay, these are the places we're going visit. So
mhm,
what can we do? We're going to find books that are going
mhm.
to tell us about the Betsy Ross house, all these different places that we can visit. And then we're going to look at documentaries that tell us more about the people who were there. And then we're going to say, okay, what else can I add in there? Is there a history game that we can purchase or look into? One thing that we like is Ticket to Ride. That's
That's
a
a
fun
great
one. You
game.
can get a
Yeah,
United States version and
yeah,
play that game. And then you can look at Pinterest and go on and say, okay, what resources are really going to help us to hone in on these skills or these ideas that we have.
yeah,
And so I think it really just depends on your homeschool and those teaching styles and learning styles and methods, but use that as your starting point, your jumping off point. What are the things that we're going to look at this year, the things that we want, or even the skills or the interests that your kids have.
yeah.
If your kids are interested in robotics, then you can do STEM classes and
Mhm,
engineering and, all these different things. It really just begins with your family and then kind of
mhm.
branches out from there. So having a
Yeah.
good look at your homeschool and what you want your homeschool to look like is a
Mhm.
great starting point to decide what kind of resources that you want to add to that.
You know, the national park system has a badging program where your
Mhm.
kids can go from national park and earn badges. And it's such a great learning. Like they just learn so much from doing that. But even as you're taking your trip, you could do that. And the other thing I was thinking of, one of my sons, he did not like anything coloring books. He would get the black crayon out for every worksheet and just scribble for 35 seconds and say he was done. So we decided that okay, worksheets were not his deal.
Right.
It's just be aware of your kids because my daughter would spend hours making these beautiful pieces of artwork. And so that worked for her, but not necessarily for my son. So if you're doing family style stuff, you got to have a mixture of both. Now,
Right.
in those kind of instances, bring out the Legos. You know, that would have been like the key to my son is just like he would make Thanksgiving Lego scenarios and he would do stop motion. He was into stop motion for several years. And honestly, that's kind of a fun thing for kids to do too. Videos and stop motion. That's a great
And you can
supplemental.
include that. Yes, it's supplemental, but you can include that in anything that you do.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about NASA, for example, you can have them build the solar system and where exactly things go in the solar system. If you're talking about US history, you can look at the things in your town and have them build those things. There are so many ways that you can incorporate their interest into
Yes.
your schooling if they don't like worksheets, like have them answer the question by building something or doing
Yeah.
something or
Yeah.
it doesn't always have to be a worksheet in this inline school
Yeah.
thing. It
Yes.
can it branches out. That's the beauty of homeschool. It really is
Yeah.
that there's so
Yes.
many options, so many ways of learning, and you can really hone in on each child or each family or whatever you want to do. We really love family style homeschooling for that reason because we all learn the same thing,
Yeah.
but they're able to answer the questions differently or do a worksheet or a coloring page or an activity or a craft or,
Mhm.
visit the actual place or whatever it may be. You just do it on their level. And that's where your supplementals come in at.
I love this discussion because I feel like homeschooling doesn't have to be sitting at a table, boring yourself and your kids to death. One of the things that you reminded me of when you were talking was that same son who likes Legos and does not like worksheets, he would create weaponry out of those foam mats that you can get at Sam's Club. And he ended up getting a special dryer and cutting them and duct taping them. And he would make period piece weaponry with plastic and duct tape
That's
and these
amazing.
mats. Now, to me as a mom, I'm just like, okay, when he moved out, we had this big garage sale because we were getting rid of stuff. He sold all that stuff to like he's older, but to younger teen boys
Yeah.
who paid big money. Like in my world, I never would have paid for it, but they thought it was the coolest thing going. So, there's just so many cool things to do. In my opinion, that's always the hardship of homeschooling is like, where do you stop? Because some of
Right.
these bunny trails you can go deep into. But what has been some of the very cool things that your kids have done?
I'm going to use myself as an example instead of my kids because this is what homeschool has done for me personally. I was pretty much a straight A student. I graduated top of my class, like top 5 of my class. I started college, ended up having kids, and decided that wasn't for me. I wanted to be a mom. But the 2 things I hated were history and geography.
Mm,
Science I could do wasn't my thing, but I did what I had to do. I was public schooled. I knew no homeschoolers. I
mm,
begged my mom to homeschool me because I hated school that much,
mm,
even though I was
mhm.
good at it.
Yeah.
But I have come to such a love for learning, not just because of the curriculum and not just because I'm doing it with my kids, but
Mhm.
because we're able to go down these rabbit trails and we're able to do these things. My favorite subject is now history. Like
Mm,
we sit as a family and watch history documentaries and it just blows my mind. Like
yeah.
it like things I knew already, but we're able to dive into and to say, oh, well, that happened. Well, what happened next? We're not
Mhm.
just hitting the timeline, but
Yeah.
we're diving into these people's lives and the history and where they come from and to realize like the history of my own town or the
Mhm.
geography that's around me and how that played into history. I think it kind of points to the fallings of the public school system, but I was public schooled and I couldn't even tell you much about the Louisiana Purchase, and that's where I live.
Wow.
That I live
Yeah.
here in Louisiana, and that's such a shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm able to teach my kids those things. And
Mhm.
while our curriculum covers that, they were
Mhm.
so excited to learn about their state and their city and our capital and we're able to actually go and visit those places and take the time to do those things, whereas we weren't before. That those things didn't interest me because I didn't understand it and it wasn't
Mhm.
presented to me in a way that was fun or exciting.
Yeah.
And so I'll say that because of supplemental resources, though the subjects I hated in school, I now love.
I love
Those
it.
are the things that
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
my kids say, "Can we read the history?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, please let mama read it." Because I love it. Like I want to be there and I want to learn and I want to be
Uh-huh.
a part of it.
I
And
love
that's
it.
what the resources have done for me and for my family personally.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's again the beauty of homeschooling is like you get to redeem your own education. And one of the cool things that we did years and years ago, again, we live in South Dakota and on the Lewis and Clark Trail, we had a Lewis and Clark camp with 6 other homeschool families. And it was so much fun. We still refer back to that, but that's a supplemental resource, right? Creating
It
these
is,
amazing
right.
activities for your kids. And how do you suggest to parents who are just starting out with supplemental resources who feel so bound by the traditional, we've got to cover these 4 subjects and we've got to get it done by this time? How do you suggest that they start integrating supplemental resources into their home where they don't feel like they're cheating their kids?
Yeah, I think that I will say that for myself, it took us a good 3 years to find, and I hate saying this to homeschool families because it seems like, are you serious? Like I really have to go through 3 years before I find a groove. But at the same time, it's like you're gonna make it. Just
Mhm.
keep pushing on.
Yeah.
Those first few years can be rough. If you did it in your first couple years, great. I love that for you. But for most homeschool families, it is very hard to find, especially those who weren't homeschooled or don't have that background. And as a first generation homeschooler, that was very hard and we hated it. We
Mm,
all hated homeschool. My kids would cry when I said it was time for homeschool.
mhm,
And I didn't want it to be that way. But one thing I realized was I couldn't just throw a bunch of things at them either. So
mm,
we took things slow. And I
yeah,
said I had to learn about my kids. I had to invest time, not just in our family life, but in their education and
mhm,
not just the curriculum. I had to say, okay, how do they learn? And
yeah,
to do that, I had to sit with them and understand them on a different level.
mhm,
And then I had to say, okay, what do I want our homeschool to look like?
mhm,
Do I want to do a bunch of worksheets? Does our state say that we have to have certain requirements? You know,
mhm,
you have to look at the big picture before you can hone in on the little one, which is
yeah,
right in your home.
mhm,
So, I think the first thing to do is look at what you desire your homeschool to be like, and
mhm,
then take into account your state requirements and see
mhm,
how you can make your homeschool fit into those state requirements.
mhm,
And then you're going to look at your curriculum choices, the things that you've decided, and
mhm,
see how you can either take away so you can add supplemental resources to. Maybe it's the review you want to remove.
mhm,
Maybe instead of the review worksheets, you want to add in a documentary or a different book, or you want to have them act something out or build something instead of doing those review worksheets. You
mhm.
know, that's how you can really learn if they've learn something, or you can understand if they've learned something, is through their activity.
Right.
So once you take all of those things into account, you understand more of, okay, we can add in projects, or if you don't like projects, we can add in field trips, or if you don't like field trips, you can add in books
Yeah.
or activities, or it really just depends on you, and there's a lot of trial and error that happens throughout all
Mhm,
of that. But don't try to do too much,
mhm,
because when you try to do your curriculum and all the supplementals, you can get overwhelmed very easily. I will say that one of the things that we use in our homeschool comes from us, the homeschool collection. It starts on July 8th through the 10th. You can get a free bundle of resources that'll really show you the kind of resources that
mhm,
we put together. And then 11th through the 27th, you
mhm,
can actually purchase resources from us, where you can buy either the whole collection, or you can go in and see what's a good fit for your family and
mhm,
only purchase those things, but they're extremely discounted. So one thing that I say is start with something like that. Your bundles a lot of times are going to be less expensive than your normal resources, and they include snippets of things like classes and courses and
right.
activities and printables and all of those things, and that'll give you an idea of how
Mhm.
your children learn, the things they like to be involved with, the skills that they enjoy. You are receiving a lot of things that you don't have to go out looking for. So
Exactly. I
we
love it.
we vet all the resources. We go through everyone. So everything that's submitted to us, we do not accept. We go through everyone and make sure that they're quality and that they are actually worth the value that we put on them. And we bundle them together for families so they don't have to go out and search and spend that time looking. And they get a lot for a little bit, because we all know that homeschool moms they're on a budget.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to help you stay on that budget.
I love how you vet the resources already. So you're not just taking busy work, you're actually looking for products that are really going to supplement and enhance and enrich the homeschool family. I love that because there's a lot of busy work out there.
It can be something that you use to your advantage, because
Yes.
it is a great supplemental
Yeah.
resource.
Yeah.
But we don't want to just give you busy work. We don't want you to have a bunch of worksheets and print out for, nothing. We're giving you courses and classes and experiences and memberships where you can go in and be with other homeschool families. And so there's a ton of things in the homeschool collection that you can read
Amazing.
through, look through, participate in, all for one low price.
And so, Brooke, is that K through 12th grade? Is it pre-K? Is it post 12th?
It's
Like, what is
it's
the age range?
K to 8 plus
Okay.
mom. So there
Okay.
are some mom products in there,
Uh-huh.
but it's mainly focused on K to 8. There are some things that, of course, you can
Yeah.
use family style, or
Yeah.
you can look at and say, we can adapt this and make it fit an older grade. But we really feel like in high school is a different level
Yeah.
of activity,
Yeah.
and a lot of times those don't fit in the bundle space because
Mhm.
we think that those resources need to be heavier, meatier, like
Yeah.
actual resources,
Yeah.
and we don't always get a whole lot of those, so we focus on K-8 plus
Yep.
mom.
Mhm.
But you can filter and search through
Mhm.
what kind of resource it is, whether it's a printable or an activity or a
Mhm.
course. You can look at the ages, the grades. You can look and see if it's a family style resource or an online resource. You can search all those ways and filter all the products. It's over 40 different products we have included this year.
Wow. So it sounds like you've got everything from like printable projects to moms groups to online kind of stuff, classes, snippets of things.
Right.
I love this resource because again, it's a great way for you as the listener, the homeschool parent, to actually touch other products without like really committing.
Right. Right. There's a lot of things throughout the wholesale period. We give you samples of materials so that you say, "Hey, this is something that I want to look at or look into," and it's free. It's a usable piece of information from one of the products in the collection so that you don't commit right away.
Yeah.
And then we tell you everything that's included as well. Another thing that it does is it opens you up to brands and
Yes.
bloggers and creators that you may not have known about,
Yeah.
and that helps because it gives you a different perspective. It gives
Mhm.
you more resources to find,
Yeah.
all of those things. And at the same time, almost every creator that we have is also a homeschool parent. So you're
Mhm.
supporting other
Yeah.
homeschool brands and other homeschool parents that
Yeah.
are involved in this. And that's why it's so fun.
What is the one word of encouragement you would share with anybody who's just starting out homeschooling or is in it for a couple years and they're just like, I don't know if I want to keep going with this.
I would say to reevaluate. We evaluate our homeschool twice a year, at the end of the homeschool year and at the first of the year.
Mhm.
Because you usually start, personally, we do year-round homeschooling.
Mhm.
So look at your schedule and say, do we need more breaks? Is this too
Mhm.
much? Do we need a change of curriculum?
Mhm.
Do we need to look into a different homeschool style? Are my kids not engaged, or is it me that's not engaged? Those
Mhm.
are the things that you need to evaluate first. And then
Mhm.
look at your homeschool as a whole and say, what can we do to make it better? And look into different homeschool styles or methods or teaching styles. And or maybe you can say homeschooling year round would give us an opportunity to kind of push the curriculum away for a little while and
Mhm.
do some fun learning. Or maybe you just need to take a little bit away from that curriculum and add in some supplementals, or look at the things that are working and see how you can expound on those things.
Mhm.
So, like I said, it took us a good 3 years to find our groove and to decide, hey, this is what I want my homeschool to look like, and this is why it's not working. Taking the time to evaluate your homeschool and really take a look at what's working and what isn't will
Mhm.
give you a good idea of how to structure it so that it works. I like to say anybody can homeschool. I don't care if you're a working parent, if you're a
Yes.
secular parent, if you're a Christian parent, if
Mhm.
you're a single parent.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. Anybody can homeschool. And there's so much joy that comes from your homeschool, your relationships first, and
Mhm.
then your education. And when
Mhm.
you structure your homeschool to be something that your whole family participates in, it becomes a whole new opportunity for you to learn and grow together. That's what I would say. Evaluate your homeschool and see what's working and see what you can build on from there. But it gets better. It
Mhm.
really does get better. Find you some good support, even if that's not a homeschool family. Find you a good homeschool family online,
Yeah.
bloggers that you can follow, or homeschool groups that you can be a part of. You have a great homeschool group that they can join already. Find you some good support and some good resources that will help you thrive.
Do you give out these kind of tips and tricks throughout the year? And do you have other bundles throughout the year or just the one?
We have a blog, of course, that where you can go and get a lot of tips and tricks and things like that. We're actually right now working through homeschool styles. I think we've done eclectic and Charlotte Mason and classical. So I think the next one that we're working on is unschooling. If you want to learn more about the homeschool styles and where you fit, that's a good place to start. But But yes, on our email list, we are always sending out new information. And as far as our sales go, we also have a shop that is open year round for our own resources, but we do these limited time sales multiple times a year. But we have never used the same resources in a sale before. So every sale, you will know that you're getting new resources.
Oh, that's amazing.
We have like a master list that we go through and say, nope, this has been used before. We're not having somebody pay for that again if they've already used it.
What a
So
great
you
value.
can know, even if you buy all our bundles for every year for the next 5 years, you will never receive the same resource twice. So you know that your money is being well spent.
I love it. Can people go back and buy previous bundles?
Nope. We
Okay.
do not offer previous bundles. There is occasionally where we do a flash sale. I think we've only done like 1 or 2 of those. So once you miss out on a bundle, you just miss out.
Okay.
We do not house them. We do not offer them again, and we do not use the same resources. So of course you can go back and find the creators and purchase the resources from them. But as far as getting it on sale in our bundle, it's only offered for that small period.
You're just offering a lot of value to the people who are following you. Listen, finding your homeschool style, I really feel like there's so much emphasis on how your kids learn, but understanding your style as an educator can be a game changer right there. So go check out that series that is on your blog right now, that's on Brooke's blog. And so people can find you at Homeschool Resource Co. And is that .com?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll put links in the show notes as well as how to find this bundle, which is going to go live on July 8th.
Yes, the free offer. There's 6 resources in that free offer, both for moms and kids, that you can get for free. It's like $76 worth of product for 3 days only. And then the early bird offer, where it's $5 off the whole bundle, happens on the 11th.
So we'll put a little teaser in the show notes. You guys can go check it out, and links, of course, you can go find Brooke. Brooke, last question, and I didn't put this on the list of questions to prepare for, so I hope I don't catch you flat-footed, but what's a great book you would recommend for our listeners?
Right now, I think as far as education goes, Dumbing Us Down by John Taylor Gatto is one of my favorites. It really, especially as coming from the public school system, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And so that's one I would do. For Christian parenting, I would do Pitching a Fit.
Is that by Layman?
No, Israel Wayne and Brooke and Israel Wayne.
Yes. Okay, great resources. You guys, you've got to go check out Homeschool Resource Co. Brooke, it's been delightful to have you on. It's not that hard to homeschool. If you have any questions for Brooke, let us know and we will pass them on to her. Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.